Hi everyone, my name is Maggie, and in today's video I will summarize fifth and the last week of training with my new guide dog Wilma. As always, I want to emphasize that I am not a guide dog trainer and I am just a blind person learning to work with her new guide dog. I also would like to mention that I live in the UK and my new guide dog is trained by British Guide Dog School. I would like to start the summary of this last week of training by sharing my experiences from the previous weekend. And probably my main observation from the last weekend is that for the first time, when I was making choices on which routes I will complete with Wilma, I wasn't only focused on the tasks that I wanted to practice with Wilma or on the routes that I wanted to practice with Wilma, but I was also focused on simply the things that I wanted to achieve and complete. So over the last week I was on annual leave and I had visitors from Poland staying with me. And before they arrived, I wanted to do all of the shopping and I wanted to get everything ready to ensure that we all had a nice time. So I went to many different shops with Wilma, and some of them were part of our initial routes that we have learned several weeks ago. And it was amazing to observe how much progress we have made with Wilma. Our walking pace was much faster. Our work together was much smoother. We didn't encounter too many difficulties and I was much more relaxed than I was several weeks ago. Also, it was lovely to see that Wilma found for me all of the places that she was taught to find. And it was amazing to see how much easier my life already is thanks to Wilma and how much she's supporting me. Another amazing observation was that it was the first time since Wilma started working with me that we had guests, and it was lovely to see how easygoing she is and how well she fits around our busy schedule. We went to see many places, including cliffs, and she was absolutely relaxed, patient with us when we were like looking at things and enjoying watching places, seeing places. And at this point I want to clarify that because at this point I wasn't qualified with Wilma yet, I strictly followed the rules of the school. So Wilma was only guiding me on the routes that were covered by the training and that I had permission to walk on from the trainer. And when we went to places that were not covered by the training, my family members were guiding me and Wilma was walking on the lead only. So she wasn't working as a guide dog and she was only accompanying us. And on one of the days I went on my own to the park with Wilma and I let her run freely and this went well. So that was another big step because we continue practicing her recall, and it is always reassuring for me that she is coming back whenever I call her. And we also went on a train to different towns, which went well. So our practice from London paid back. And another experience from that week was that over the last week I had the biggest gap between training sessions, which I believe was a very good idea and a very good plan, because that allowed me to gain confidence that even if I have break from the training and even if I don't have support from the trainer from several days, I still can maintain good work and things don't go wrong. So the last session of the previous week was on Friday when we went to London, and the first session this week was on Wednesday, and that was because of the weekend, bank holiday, and also on Tuesday the trainer had other duties to complete. So on Wednesday we we continued practicing one of the routes in the bigger town that I mentioned in my previous videos. So we continue practicing walking around the shopping center, and we also continue practicing walking around the square with many shops in. I just grabbed the tripod because Wilma is slightly moving it, so forgive me that. And this square is quite, as I mentioned, is quite complex for me because every day the layout of vans that are selling food is slightly different, and there is also many attractions for the kids, and the layout of this equipment is slightly different, so I have to listen very carefully to everything around me, and I have to be very careful not to miss any slight change of direction. And it is difficult because not always I can follow a building line there, and there is kind of big open space, and Wilma not always will follow exactly the same route because the layout is slightly different. So I have to be aware of every even slight change of direction, so I know more or less where I am, right? And when to indicate to Wilma what I need her to find next. So we practiced going to few shops that are most important to me, so she can find them for me. But we didn't add it too many shops because we don't want her to be too confused. And in the afternoon of the day, we went to the vet and we registered Wilma with the local vet. And this was also part of the training because I learned to keep Wilma relaxed and calm at the vets, to ensure that she doesn't get stressed by medical examinations. So that was also very helpful. And at this point, I want to mention things that I forgot to mention in my previous videos. So the training also covers giving tablets to the dog, and we need to give like regular tablets like for worming, for ticks, fleas, so they don't get them. And also we need to learn to check dog's ears and clean them, and eyes, and check whether the dog has no injuries. And also the poo picking is part of checking whether she's doing okay with her digestion. And the next day, which was Thursday, we covered totally different routes, and I will probably repeat some of the things that I said in the previous videos because I mentioned this part of town before, but just to make clear what the challenge of the day was, I will just explain everything from the scratch. So I live in a very small town, but close by is slightly bigger town, and to get to the town center I have to cross quite wide pedestrian crossing. And then depending on where I want to go, I can either take sharp left, or I can take a second left, which is at slight angle, or I can go forward, or I can slightly go to the right, or I can make a sharp right. So taking sharp left and right is easy because I just turn left or right after crossing the road. Then taking first left is easy because I just follow the building line after I cross the road. I listen to like where people sit at the tables because there is like a coffee shop, and I say left and Wilma takes left. The challenge is to go forward, not to confuse between other roads, because this straightforward road is not exactly like a straight line, or to go slightly to the right. So because these roads are very close together and they meet at very like close angle, it is not a very good idea for me to guess and to indicate the direction that I think is right to Wilma, because I can get it wrong and get very confused, which will be stressful for me and for her. We decided that we will find a strategy that will allow me to always know exactly where I am. So rather than indicating the direction after I cross this crossing, if I want to go more or less straight on, I ask Wilma to find first coffee shop on the left, then I turn my back to this coffee shop, I crossed the road, which is there, but it is closed to car, it is pedestrian sort of road. I get to the other side of this road, which is only for pedestrians anyway. Then I ask her to find a coffee shop which is opposite this first coffee shop. And then if I want to go to the road which is leading me straight forward to like further part of the town, I just turn left and I follow the building line, keeping the building line on my right hand side. And if I want to go to this road which leads slightly to the right, which takes me to, amongst many others, my work, for instance, which is very important, then I say to the dog right, and I follow the building light on the left, and I have to make slight U-turn. I'm sorry if this makes not much sense. The bottom line is really, it is difficult to explain it without drawing it out, and that would be hard. So the bottom line of this is that rather than kind of assuming my direction, and rather than hoping that I will guess right and indicate to the dog correctly, I use the strategy that takes me from A to B and to C. So I don't get confused, and I always have some solid point of reference telling me where I am exactly, if that makes sense. And in that way, hopefully I will not get confused. And then we continued finding an underpass that takes me to my workplace. Well, it takes me to many places, but amongst the others. And again, finding this underpass was a challenge, because again, it is not like I can feel the turn and I know, okay, this is where building line ends, so I can indicate to the left or the right. It is kind of in the middle of the pavement where the ramp starts. So I need to know when to indicate, but also Wilma needs to get what I mean. And I think we did it, so that was fine. And also we will continue practicing this. But this was so complex that we needed to practice this whole day, and we had to do many repetitions of that. And Friday was my qualification day. So on Friday, 2 trainers came because the final walk has to be assessed by somebody who wasn't part of this training. So when the ladies arrived, we agreed the route that I had to take. And it wasn't a very complex route, because the qualification doesn't depend only on this one walk. If something was going wrong, they could stop the training at any point of the training, so they don't continue the training if things go wrong, right? It is possible to fail that if the person made any major mistakes, but I was kind of, like, I didn't think about this, to be fair, because I was hoping that it will be fine, and it was. And when we came back, the lady who was not my trainer, the other trainer, read all of the agreement to me, and we signed all of the relevant parts, and we made a plan for the future. So the amazing thing is that I will continue receiving support from guide dogs. The next visit that I will receive is on the 10th of June, and we will continue practicing this complex route to my workplace and this complex crossing when many roads meet at one point. And also we will in the future continue practicing my trips to London, especially to the eye hospital where I go. And I will receive I understand quite a few kind of sessions over the next year, so the supervision will be quite close. And over the next, over Wilma's working life, on average, I believe there is 1 visit per year from guide dogs where they check her well-being, her weight, her quality of work, my quality of work, and they keep an eye whether she is okay to continue working. But let's not talk about retirement today, because we're just starting this adventure together. And I just want to say before I finish that I'm very, very impressed and very grateful and very happy with the training that I have received. I received much more than I hoped for, if that makes sense, because I am aware of the fact that I travel a lot. I have quite complex routes. I travel many different routes, and everything to give me a good start was covered, and the training was amazingly thorough. Everything was presented to me step by step in a very kind of like calm, structured, clear way, and there was a lot of repetitions. And also the trainer that was training me has amazing sense of humor, which helps. My favorite line was to Wilma when the trainer was always saying, "Don't worry, Wilma, I will teach her," when I was doing something wrong. So that was really funny. And yeah, the lady was always super kind, and she also went above and beyond for me, which I truly appreciate. And I will keep updating you with how it goes. Initially, I will maybe do more frequent videos and then more spaced out videos, but it is important to aware that the first year of training is of work together is the most important, because this is where things can go wrong, but hopefully they won't. But this is when it is most important to practice a lot, follow every little rule, do everything textbook, and to be very thorough and careful, and not to kind of start cutting any corners. So cross your fingers for me, and I will keep you posted. Bye bye, and thank you for following me on this journey. Bye bye.